Okay, so it seems like we have a slight update on the Hoyoverse situation with a lot of the voice actors. Now, obviously, if you guys saw my last video, you guys can go check it. We actually went through a whole thing with Allegra Clark, who's the voice actor for Acheron, and also for Beidou in Genshin Impact. Now, obviously, they put out a post pretty much talking about these strikes, saying that they're not privy to what happens during the negotiations, but essentially they wanted, the strikes to end, and that they felt like, it was about time that we just kind of, give it up and just, carry on with our lives. But again, there's a whole entire thread that went down, and we obviously read through the entirety of that. And obviously, this caught a lot of attention from a lot of people, especially over on Bluesky from one person, which seems to be going pretty crazy over on Bluesky right now. This is from Senna Breyer. They're saying, hey, I'm going to be real. To all the rich VAs saying that this strike needs to end because your bottom line is starting to hurt, suck it up. There's those of us at the bottom who have a hell of a lot more to lose as we're running, Uber Eats to make this through. This strike will end when we get our deal, which again is kind of a crazy message. Obviously, Allegra Clark, I feel like she was being pretty fair in terms of kind of wording of it. Saying that she does want a lot of these changes to happen due to a lot of the AI strikes going on. But again, also wants it to end. Now, obviously, yeah, they're blaming it on, their bottom line is starting to hurt and stuff like that, and calling them rich VAs, which I think is kind of funny. Obviously, Senna actually puts another reply down here saying, I was actually going to break my Twitter extras to post this where the rich voice actors who actually need to see this are still posting, but the character limit there is too short. It could always screenshot the original post and post it like that. Now, I think this is kind of funny because it seems like there's currently a voice actor civil war going on. I don't really know who Senna is exactly and how much work they've done, but it does seem like they are a voice actor in terms of, whatever. I don't really know who they've voiced. I don't think they've voiced anybody of note that I know of. But at the same time, it is funny to see some other English voice actors kind of getting angry at some of the Hoyoverse voice actors. I think this reply as well is kind of funny as well. They're saying, ask Karina for some money. She's working while you strike. It's easy to tell others not to work while taking the check at the end of the month. Fans need to suck it up as well, calling out the VAs who apparently don't care. We're literally all in this together because y'all can't succeed if you don't have the support. They say, call out the companies who aren't agreeing to the terms. We need to keep human actors working 5 to 10 years from now. Call out the companies who make tons of money but aren't giving us enforceable AI protections on union contracts, which again, I think, I feel like the situation has evolved into something pretty dumb at this point, where people are just kind of spouting whatever they want and just kind of getting really worked up over nothing. They're saying, I wasn't aware you were striking too. I hope you're all okay and doing fine. Is there anything we, the public / non-VAs, can do to help? They say any posts or retweets, which again, obviously these people are over on Bluesky. They seem to have their own kind of little community here whenever it comes to this kind of stuff. They say, do you believe it will end though, since SAG-AFTRA has clearly gone against everything voice actors are striking over? Because I don't see it ending at all once I quit. What's it like publicly posting based on misinformation? Please educate on what SAG-AFTRA actually is. Which again, I think is kind of funny because what a lot of these voice actors tend to do is go, oh, well, you think that's bad? Well, you're just spreading misinformation. Am I going to tell you what misinformation you're spreading? No. Am I going to educate you on, what, there is to do with the voice acting? Am I going to show you what I actually mean and, where my viewpoint's coming from? No. I'm just going to say that you're dumb and that you're you're spreading misinformation. That's it. And I think it's so funny that every single person does this. Obviously this person says, what misinformation? As far as I'm aware, VAs are fighting for protection against AI misusage. SAG has signed with a AI pro company to basically nullify that. You just said it yourself, misusage. Not no use whatsoever, which is something that legally could not negotiate for us. Could not negotiate for, as that would violate fair labor laws. The AI deal they signed has extremely harsh guidelines on what can and can't be done. It also exists so if a company's AI is an actor, the union has an agreement to point, no, we agreed if you use AI, it has to be on these guidelines. If there was no agreement, there would be nothing SAG could do to combat them. As again, fair labor laws, which again might be true, but at the same time, obviously, I feel like people just don't kind of educate people on this at all whenever it comes to any of this kind of stuff, which I think is, unfair to be attacking them, especially after all of that. They say, could you do a voice recording in any of your voices? Reading that message would be awesome. They say, sorry, but absolutely not. those are not my characters. They are characters owned by clients I work for. They say, I do not want you to be fired. That said, keep fighting for a fair contract, which I think is kind of weird. I don't know why you'd request something like that. It's like, oh, can you voice it in the voice of this character? I really like them. Like, okay, bro. Also, there's this guy that was kind of skittering out over on Bluesky as well, called Dawson Dane. They were actually talking a lot about Hirohei, who's also, as you know, been covering this. They said, oh, so you're left-wing while spouting right-wing Hirohei propaganda? Project and gaslight. That's all what you people love to do. You call Karina Trump? Sorry, what? You people go through the MAGA playbook so well. Lie, harass, claim, victory, repeat. I mean, what has this got to do with any kind of political things? I think people kind of involved in politics in this are so dumb, and it seems like this is mainly coming from a lot of the Bluesky audience that are kind of trying to get the right-wing, left-wing thing. And this person talking about, like, Trump? Like, what has Trump got to do with this kind of stuff? Like, why is he even being mentioned here? No one's calling Karina a Trump. You know, I'm calling, Karina an idiot for, going on TikTok and crashing out so hard, but I'm not calling her Trump. I mean, I feel like people are so dumb whenever it comes to this kind of stuff that they have to, like, kind of revert to politics. It's not about left wing or right wing or whatever. No one cares. People just want voices to be in their games. Like, let's be real. It doesn't have to be that deep. Obviously, this person is, like, absolutely schizo, though. We went through some of the other posts. They were replying to a large thread. For example, people saying, like, who started the harassment campaign? The striking VAs, be for real. You are also dumb as hell. I do not think that, most of the Genshin community has any familiarity with anti-union propaganda. Historically, this form of propaganda succeeds precisely by disseminating a villainous... sorry, that is a big word. I don't even know how to say that. Caricature of unions and their voice supporters. I'm trying to stay away from this, but calling out SAG does not equal being anti-union or being impacted by anti-union propaganda. Also, you're looking at it as an American. There are other countries, which I definitely do think is true. That's something that a lot of people just miss out at all. Like, there is other countries that exist outside of the US, and I think for me, obviously being from the UK, it's much more prominent to me that a lot of these people are being dumb whenever it comes to thinking that the US is the only country whenever it comes to voice acting and, voice actors. We've seen many other games use British voice actors and do even better and not have any delays at all. For example, like Wuthering Waves, they use a lot of British-based voice acting, and, obviously, mainly that's due to, I think, obviously, the fact that there isn't these strikes and stuff going on, and they can get out, their content quicker without any delays or kind of changes, which ruins the game. For example, like Genshin Impact, who have been muting a lot of their voice actors at the moment, or a lot of their characters, in the story. As the Genshin fans are not merely criticizing SAG-AFTRA, they're opposing the unionization efforts, cheering on strike breaking, and demanding that Hoyoverse further engage in more strike breaking. That is anti-union sentiment, which again, I do understand, but at the same time, they are kind of just criticizing it, which this person says. They're actually merely criticizing SAG-AFTRA, which is true. I feel like there isn't really much strike breaking going on here or anything like that. But either way, it doesn't matter, because what has actually happened is the voice actors have drove to this point. If you look back at the start of this, I think a lot more people were more sympathetic to the strikers and, the strikes going on, everything like that. And they were more like, oh, okay, I can understand why you're striking, everything like that. But after all of the things that we've seen with Kaylee Mills, Karina, all of these other voice actors part of the Genshin community, people have just kind of lost hope and they've gone, well, this is dumb. Why are we even supporting this? This should end. And I think a lot of people have kind of finally opened up their eyes to this kind of stuff. They say, within a single minute, I can go on Twitter and find a comment advocating for VAs on Hoyoverse projects to be replaced. It has 5k likes, which again, they said, cool, where's the anti-union propaganda? I support unions the way that they're intended. Still, I hope that Paimon will get recast ASAP. It's connected to the fact that they're striking. Oh, wait, I forgot. But to the fact that they're bow-mouthing the way they do. I don't really know how they, they kind of went a bit like weird at the end there. But again, it's definitely true that, obviously some people are calling for the fact that some voice actors should be recast. But, I think they should too. I feel like they're being idiots. It's not even just about the fact that they're striking or anything. I think their behavior online definitely shows off a lot of the ways of, how they actually are as a person and how they could interact with future companies. And, me as someone who would own, if I was to own a company that needed voice actors, I would take one look at their Twitter or their TikTok and be like, no thank you, which again is a big reason of why, people want it to be recast. They go, cool. Oh no, they say, I hope that Paimon will get recast ASAP. And you ask about anti-union propaganda. It said, are you that dense? They said, wow, just right to the ableism. That was quick. $1 billion company supporters don't surprise me anymore. So this person called them dense, and then they said they were ableist, which I think is so funny. They said, okay, Karina, log off. They said, okay, Hirohei, log off. This guy seems to hate Hirohei. God damn. They say, apparently everyone is Karina now. They say, I didn't say it about the last person, but this account is hella sus. Created 26 days ago with the second post being feels good to post freely what you think and using the same argumentation. I'm not much of a conspiracy believer, but this one looks hilarious af. This is a conspiracy mindset. It begins with the small things, and when people become desensitized to the smaller ones, they become more susceptible to bigger ones. Are you AI, or do you actually not see that I'm actually having a serious conversation at this point? Jeez. That is not the impression that I'm receiving. So people can be serious about one thing and unserious about another in the span of the same discussion. I don't have energy to continue the union part of our conversation since it's 3:30 a.m. for me, so I might come back to it later if I feel like it. And yes, I was with another person because the account... I was messing with another person because the account was obviously created for provocation, and the replies are provocative too. I don't really see a reason to have a serious tone with people like that. And obviously this person replies to it at the end saying, the account was created so I can chime in on your and the Genshin community's alt-right BS. If you see it some other way, well, you're part of the problem. So again, they're going straight to the kind of, political scale there, it's political spectrum, saying, oh, it's alt-right, oh, it's left, it's right, it's left, it's right, it's up, it's down, it's sideways, it's upside down, it's just so dumb. And if you want even more proof that this guy is dumb, they said that Infinity Nikki is better than Genshin, or they're doing better with a lot of things with Genshin and pretty much glazed them. And we all know what's happened with Infinity Nikki in the past couple of days. So again, I mean, that's pretty much all we got on people crashing out over on Bluesky at the moment. I don't think there's been much reply from some of the voice actors, but I'll definitely keep you guys up to date if anything else does come out about this. But I think it's kind of funny that people were getting so triggered by this one Allegra Clark tweet. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also go to GameStop, use my code CASA, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So, see ya.